Most people over 75 don't die from one big thing. They die from 5 small ones. Things that seem harmless, normal, even routine. I've seen it over and over, in homes, in hospice rooms, in quiet living rooms where the clock ticks louder than conversation. One missed signal, one false assumption, one belief that something is just part of getting older, and the body begins to slip before anyone realizes. The scariest part? It rarely starts with pain. It starts with permission. Permission to slow down. Permission to take it easy. Permission to stop moving, not because you can't, but because you think you shouldn't have to anymore. That's the first trap. And I'm not saying rest isn't necessary. It is. But what I've watched over and over is that people don't just rest. They retreat. Take Mr. Lanier, 78. Lived alone. Retired postman. Proud of his routine. Used to walk to the coffee shop every morning. Rain or shine. Then one week in winter, the sidewalks froze over. He skipped his walk. Sensible, right? Then another week. And another. By March, the sidewalks were clear again. But he wasn't. He told his daughter, "I just don't feel like it anymore." What he didn't know was this: muscle loss happens fast. Especially after 75. 2 weeks without walking can lead to a measurable loss in strength and balance. For weeks and your stride changes. 6 weeks and you start to feel unsure on stairs, on slopes, even on rugs. Lanier fell in June, just reaching for the TV remote. Nothing serious. No fracture. But that fall, it changed something else, his confidence. He told me later, "I didn't know how quickly I could become afraid of my own legs." Let me say that again for anyone listening. The loss of movement isn't just physical. It's mental. It's emotional. It's identity. We think aging is about slowing down. But the truth is, it's about choosing which movements to keep sacred. Every step you still take protects the next one. Every walk to the mailbox is a vote for independence. And the body listens. Not to age, but to use. You stop moving, it stops maintaining. One geriatric physical therapist once told me, after 75, walking isn't exercise, it's survival. And yet, too many families don't ask, "Are you still walking daily?" They ask, "Are you comfortable?" They mean well, but comfort in the wrong context is a killer, because it leads to stillness. Stillness leads to weakness, and weakness leads to falls. And falls? They change everything. We'll talk more about that later. But let's be clear. The first step toward decline is often the last step you stop taking. And here's what makes this trap even more dangerous. No one feels alarmed by it. You don't feel your body weakening. Not in the beginning. You just say things like, "I'm just tired today. I'll go tomorrow. The weather's bad anyway." By the time you realize you've stopped moving, the cost is already rising. This isn't about pushing elders to run marathons. It's about protecting their right to still participate. In life, in motion, in rhythm. I worked with a woman named Susan, 81, who refused to use a walker. She said, "That'll make me look old." She didn't realize. Using support isn't what makes you old. Falling because you refused support, that's what makes you fragile. Eventually, we reframed it. We told her, "This isn't a walker. This is freedom on wheels." She laughed, rolled her eyes, but started using it. She began walking again, just 5 minutes a day. By the 3rd week, she was walking outside. You know what she said to me? "I thought I was losing control. Turns out, I just needed a better way to stay steady." That's the real truth. After 75, stability isn't optional. It's strategy. So if you're listening to this, or thinking of someone you love, ask this tonight. How much are you still moving every day? And is your body still your ally? Or has fear started replacing confidence? Because once fear wins, the body follows. But it doesn't have to. Here's a question no one thinks to ask. What happens when someone over 75 stops feeling hungry? Not just once, but day after day. They say, "I'm not really in the mood for lunch," or "I'll eat later," or they just push food around the plate and let it go cold. Most people think, well, appetite slows down with age. But here's the truth. When a senior stops eating consistently, something deeper is going on. And it's almost never about food. I once sat with a man named Robert, 83 years old, lived with his daughter, kind, soft-spoken, always said thank you. But over time, he started skipping meals. First breakfast, then lunch, then he only ate a few bites at dinner. His family thought it was just aging, until he fainted in the hallway. When we talked in the hospital, I asked him why he'd stopped eating. He looked away and said quietly, "I guess I just stopped seeing the point. That's what broke me. It wasn't about taste, or energy, or swallowing. It was about purpose." And Robert is not alone. Appetite loss in older adults isn't just biological. It's emotional, it's social, it's existential. Think about it. Who wants to cook a full meal just for themselves? Who wants to sit at a table where no one speaks? Who wants to go through the hassle of preparing food when your body already feels like it's giving up? Eating becomes effort. Effort becomes stress. And stress turns into avoidance. But here's what families miss. When someone over 75 stops eating, it isn't a decision. It's a signal. It says, "I feel alone. I feel overwhelmed. I don't feel useful anymore." One nurse told me, "We feed the body, but we forget to feed the spirit." And the spirit is what makes someone want to eat in the first place. I met a woman named Lillian, 79, widowed, used to host Sunday dinners for 12. Now she lived alone, microwaved soup most nights, sat in silence. She told me, "Food tastes different when no one's waiting to eat with you." So we tried something. Every Wednesday, her neighbor brought over a simple lunch, sandwiches, fruit, nothing fancy. But the act of eating together, even just once a week, changed everything. Her appetite came back. So did her energy, her voice. She started setting the table again, just for herself, with a napkin, candle, music playing. Not because she was pretending, because she remembered she was still worth showing up for. That's the secret most people don't talk about. The appetite doesn't die first. The desire to matter does. So if someone you love is over 75 and skipping meals, don't start by asking what food they want. Ask, what part of you feels empty right now? You might be surprised by the answer. Could be loneliness. Could be decision fatigue. Could be shame about dentures or swallowing. Could even be grief that no one asks what they actually enjoy eating anymore. I worked with a dietitian who said something I'll never forget. At this age, joy is a nutrient. That means a slice of pie with a memory in it. Maybe more healing than a bowl of kale they don't even want to touch. So yes, nutrition matters. But what keeps someone alive is the desire to eat, to sit, to enjoy, to feel present. The body can survive without food for a while, but the will to live, that's much more fragile. And when someone starts skipping meals, they're not just losing calories. They're losing connection to life, to rhythm, to their own self-worth. So if you see this pattern starting, don't wait. Pull up a chair, light a candle, ask about their favorite meal from childhood, make it together, and remind them without needing to say it. You still belong at this table. If you're still here, feel free to leave your thoughts below. I read each one with care. You know what the most dangerous sentence is for someone over 75? "I'm just a little tired," because that phrase hides everything. Fatigue in late life doesn't always come from doing too much. It comes from something going wrong quietly, but most people shrug it off. "I didn't sleep well. I skipped lunch. Maybe it's the weather." And by the time they realize something's off, it's already serious. I worked with a man named Bill, 82. Lived with his wife, independent. One morning, he told her he just didn't feel like going to the garden. She said, "That's okay. Rest." The next day, same thing. The next week, he stopped walking altogether. By the time he went to the doctor, he'd lost 6 pounds. His blood pressure was too low. His sodium was out of range. And his memory was slipping. All from what started as just a little tired. Here's what most people don't know. Fatigue after 75 is often the first warning sign, not the last. can mean heart function is slipping. It can mean medications are interacting. It can even mean early infection or organ stress. But the worst part? Fatigue makes people stop paying attention to themselves. And once that happens, decline speeds up fast. There's a name for this in geriatrics: cascade failure. Starts with one small thing like fatigue, which leads to less movement, which leads to worse sleep, which leads to skipped meals, which leads to medication errors, which leads to hospitalization, which leads to bed rest, which leads to a body that can't bounce back. And all of it started with, "I'm just tired." Let that sink in. I met a nurse who worked in cardiac care. She said, "By the time seniors show up in our unit, we ask how long they've been feeling off. Most say weeks, sometimes months, but they never thought it was worth checking. Why? Because we've told older people that feeling bad is just part of aging. But let me tell you this clearly, your body still talks after 75. We've just stopped listening. It whispers in dizziness. It mumbles in foggy thinking. It pauses in breathlessness after standing. And eventually it stops asking nicely. I remember a woman named Evelyn, 85. Elegant, sharp, lived alone. She started forgetting small things. Whether she fed the cat, where she put her keys, what day it was. Her family assumed it was memory loss. But it wasn't. After a routine test, her doctor found her oxygen levels were low. Not dangerously so, but just enough to make her brain foggy. You know what fixed it? A small portable oxygen machine. 3 weeks later, she was reading again, doing crosswords, cooking, laughing. She didn't need memory care. She needed air. That's what I want you to understand. Confusion isn't always cognitive decline. Breathlessness isn't always being out of shape. Sleepiness isn't always aging. Sometimes it's the body sending red flags in beige envelopes. So what can you do? Start writing things down. Not just the big stuff, the quiet changes. Are you sleeping more than usual? Do you feel lightheaded when standing? Are your thoughts slower in the afternoon than in the morning? Is food tasting different lately? Are your legs feeling heavier? These are questions that save lives. Because when you track the little changes, you can catch the big ones before they arrive. One caregiver I knew kept a 3-line log every day for her father. She'd write, 1. How he moved. 2. How he ate. 3. What mood he woke up in. After 3 weeks, she noticed a pattern. He was dragging his feet in the mornings, skipping lunch on Wednesdays, and sleeping longer after Sunday visits. They checked his meds. Turns out one of them peaked too high around midweek. Adjusting the dose fixed everything. Small logs, big difference. Because in older age, the body stops shouting. It asks, and we need to start answering. Let me say something hard, but honest. Most older adults recover from illness, but many never recover from a fall. And I don't mean broken bones. I mean broken confidence. A single fall, even a minor one, can steal something far more valuable than strength. It steals trust. In your body, in your steps, in your own home. I met a man named Karl, 79. Former high school principal. Sharp mind, big laugh. He tripped over a carpet edge one morning and fell on his side. No fracture, just a bruise. But what happened next was worse than the injury. He stopped walking to the mailbox, stopped using the stairs, stopped answering the door. He told me, "I'm not hurt, but I don't trust myself anymore." That sentence should send a chill down your spine. Because once someone loses trust in their own body, they begin to retreat from life itself. And here's the worst part. Falls after 75 are rarely random. They come with warning signs, but nobody's watching. The CDC says over 3 million seniors go to the ER for falls every year. But what they don't track is the emotional damage. One fall, then fear, then immobility, then muscle loss, then dependence. It's a downward spiral that looks like caution, but smells like surrender. I remember Diane, 82, lived alone, slipped in the bathroom. She didn't tell anyone for 3 days. She was embarrassed. She cleaned the bruise herself, hid the limp, smiled when her kids called. But after that fall, she stopped going to church, then stopped grocery shopping, then started using a walker inside the house. When we finally spoke, she said this: "I didn't fall again, but I kept living like I might." And that's what a fall does. Plants fear in your floorboards. So why do these falls happen? It's not just clutter or bad lighting, though those matter. It's medications that drop blood pressure. It's skipped meals that cause lightheadedness. It's vision changes that sneak up slowly. It's stiffness from sitting too long. It's pride, refusing the cane because I'm not that old yet. But here's the truth. Cane doesn't make you old. The fall does. If someone you love refuses support, ask them gently, what are you protecting? Your image or your independence? Because here's the math that doctors don't sugarcoat. A one fall over 75 doubles the risk of another within 6 months. A hip fracture after 80 has a 1 in 4 chance of leading to death within a year. And most people who fall don't tell anyone until it's too late. I worked with a physical therapist who said, the fall isn't the end. The fear afterward is. So what's the solution? It's not just grab bars. It's not just better shoes. It's restoring belief in stability, in control, in movement. And that starts before the fall ever happens. Teach people to rise safely from a chair. Practice balance, even 5 minutes a day. Normalize assistive devices. Talk about medications that cause dizziness. Make the bathroom safer today, not after the accident. Most importantly, change how we talk about falling. Don't say, be careful. Say, let's make this place easier to move in. Don't say, you'll be fine. Say, let's plan together so you stay strong. Because after 75, strength isn't about lifting more. It's about being willing to keep moving, even when the world says slow down. And yes, falls are scary. But what's scarier is giving up because you didn't believe help was worth asking for. I'll end with this. Karl, the man who tripped over the carpet, eventually agreed to work with a balance coach. Took weeks, small sessions, some tears. But one day he walked back out to that mailbox. I asked him how it felt. He said, not like before, but close enough to remember who I was. That's victory. And it starts with one question. Do you still feel safe in your own steps? If the answer is no, start today. Not with fear, but with support, with tools, with patience, with honesty. Because the fall itself isn't what hurts most. It's what we let go of afterward. Some losses are visible, like a limp, like a bruise, like a hand that trembles when it reaches for the cup. But the most dangerous loss after 75 is the one that doesn't leave a mark. It's the loss of memory, of clarity, of self. I've watched it happen. Slowly, quietly, without anyone noticing the moment it began. One day, someone forgets a name, then a date, then a face, then a feeling. And you think, maybe they're just tired. But then the pattern grows. And one day, they look at you and don't know whether to call you friend, daughter, or stranger. That's not just memory loss. That's identity erosion. And here's the hard truth. Most families miss the early signs, not because they don't care, but because they don't know what to look for. I knew a woman named Joyce, 84, used to bake every Saturday, had the same routine for years. Then one morning, she forgot how to use the oven. She stood in her kitchen, staring at the knobs like they were written in another language. When her son came by, she laughed it off. I must be losing it, she said. But she wasn't joking. She was asking for help in disguise. That's how memory decline shows up. Not all at once, not dramatically, but in soft disappearances. And if you aren't looking closely, you'll only notice when it's already taken too much. Let me say this clearly. Forgetting your keys isn't dementia. Forgetting what keys are for might be. But it's not just about forgetting objects. It's forgetting how to care for yourself, how to manage pills, how to pay bills, how to call for help. It's not always sad at first. In fact, some people feel peaceful, like they're floating just outside the noise. But the people around them start grieving, not a death, but a fading. So what do? First, don't wait. Don't deny. Don't dismiss. If you notice changes in conversation, in routines, in reactions, talk about them. Not with fear, with love, with clarity. Say, I noticed you've been repeating things a little more. You seem frustrated trying to find words. Is that new? Have you felt more foggy lately? And when they answer, believe them. I once heard a geriatrician say, early memory loss doesn't steal facts. It steals confidence. And people hide that loss with jokes, silence, or deflection. So be gentle, but be direct. Second, simplify but never belittle. Memory care isn't about dumbing things down. It's about reducing overwhelm. Label the light switches. Put pictures next to names. Use pillboxes. Write routines on paper, not phones. Let them lead even if you're guiding from behind. Third, don't confuse silence with surrender. People with early memory loss still feel deeply. They still want connection, still want dignity, still want to matter. One daughter told me about her father, 86, early Alzheimer's. He stopped speaking much, sat near the window holding his wedding ring. She thought he was fading fast. Then one day, she sat beside him and whispered, "What do you miss most today?" He blinked, took a long breath, then said, "Knowing what I'm supposed to be doing right now." That sentence cracked her open, because it meant he was still in there, still aware, still feeling the ache of confusion. He just needed someone to ask the right question. So if you love someone who's slipping, don't pull away. Lean in, sing with them, read to them, hold their hand even when they forget why it matters. Because the soul remembers what the brain forgets. And if it's you who's starting to feel foggy, please hear me. You are not disappearing. You are not broken. You are not less. You are still you. Maybe slower, maybe softer, but still here. Let the people who love you stay close. Let them help you carry your name when it feels too heavy. Because memory doesn't define you. Presence does. And you can still show up. Every day. In small moments. In glances. In quiet courage. You've made it through all 5 traps. If any of this felt familiar, that's not a coincidence. These aren't rare cases. They are everyday realities. They happen in kitchens, in driveways, in doctors' offices, in silent afternoons. And they take more lives than most people realize, not with violence, but with permission. So pay attention, not just to the body but to the subtle decisions we call normal but aren't. Because staying alive after 75 isn't just about avoiding illness. It's about staying alert, staying connected, staying visible to others and to yourself. If this kind of quiet reflection feels helpful to you, you're welcome to come back anytime. I'll be here.